When I was a young child, I experienced a terrifying ordeal that I will never forget. It was a story connected to a dreadful entity known as the Big-Headed Infant. This tale unfolded in a small village near my home, where there stood an old, abandoned house that the locals referred to as the sanctuary of the Big-Headed Infant. In my childhood memories, this house always exuded an eerie atmosphere. It was situated deep within a dense forest, making it appear gloomy even during daylight hours. The villagers avoided it at all costs, for the legends said it was once the shelter for a peculiar child, a monstrous creature. The story began on a cold autumn evening when my friend Mike and I decided to embark on an adventure beyond the borders of our village. We had always been curious about the legend of the Big-Headed Infant and wanted to see for ourselves. The elderly villagers had warned us that the creature was particularly active at night and took delight in frightening children who dared to venture near. As the sun slowly dipped below the horizon, casting the sky into darkness, we finally arrived at the sanctuary of the Big-Headed Infant. The house appeared old and dilapidated, covered in moss and ivy. We pushed open the creaking door, which emitted an eerie, bone-chilling sound. The interior of the house was dimly lit and desolate, filled with dust and cobwebs. An unsettling chill ran down our spines, but we pressed on. The house's interior was in disarray, as if a great disturbance had taken place. Broken picture frames hung on the walls, and the floor was littered with ancient books and old toys. As we cautiously advanced, strange sounds emanated from the depths of the house. At times, we felt an inexplicable draft blowing through the corridor, as if something were waiting for us at the end.
Suddenly, our attention was drawn to a peculiar photograph. It depicted a strange-looking infant with an extraordinarily large head, almost as big as its body, and eyes that were pitch black in color, as if they could pierce your soul. We examined the photograph closely and felt a shiver down our spines because this was the image of the Big-Headed Infant. We continued to explore the house, going deeper and deeper into it, despite the growing unease. Unexpectedly, we heard a dreadful wailing, a sound filled with agony and despair. It seemed to come from the very heart of the house. We panicked and rushed toward the source of the sound, crossing through a dimly lit corridor until we reached a darkened room. In that room, we came face to face with the Big-Headed Infant, or at least, its apparition. He sat in an old rocking chair, his head indeed extraordinarily oversized, almost as large as his body. His eyes were as dark as ink, radiating a malevolent gleam. He gazed at us with an indifferent and unfriendly expression. We could hardly believe our eyes, for the legends we had heard from childhood had come to life before us. The Big-Headed Infant stared at us, and his cries grew even more terrifying. We didn't know how to deal with this dreadful presence, but we felt unable to leave. When we attempted to retreat, his gaze turned more malicious, as if he were menacing us. Suddenly, Mike shouted and bolted out of the room, and I followed suit. We sprinted out of the sanctuary and back to the safety of the village. We were out of breath, drenched in sweat, and our hearts were pounding. We dared not look back, for we knew that the Big-Headed Infant was still in there, like a demon waiting for the next brave soul.
Since that day, we never ventured into the Big-Headed Infant or embarked on any further explorations. This experience instilled in us a profound understanding that some things should not be touched, and the sanctuary was one of them. His existence became a recurring nightmare from our childhood that continued to haunt us as we grew older. It was a terrifying experience I will never forget, and it taught me that some things should forever remain untouched.